Heartbreak at Wembley. What happens now? Sunday 22 was supposed to be the day Arsenal finally broke the silence. The day Mikel Arteta lifted a trophy at Wembley and showed the football world that this team has truly arrived. But it did not go that way. Not even close. Manchester City won the Carabao Cup final 2-0 and Arsenal left Wembley with nothing but questions to answer and injuries to deal with. If you watched the game and felt empty afterwards, you were not alone. Millions of Arsenal fans around the world felt exactly the same thing. But right now, more than anything, this community needs honesty, information and perspective. So let us break down everything that happened, from the tunnel moment that warmed a few hearts, to the injury news that has left the squad stretched heading into a massive stretch of fixtures. Think about this. Before we dive in, be honest with yourself. Did you feel like Arsenal were going to win that final before kickoff? Or was there already a small voice in the back of your head saying something was not quite right? A game Arsenal never showed up for from the very first whistle. City looked sharper, more organised and more hungry. Pep Guardiola set up his side with Antoine Semenyo and Jeremy Doku pushing up alongside Rayan Cherki and Erling Haaland. That meant City created a wall right in front of the Arsenal midfield. Arsenal had no way through it and no answer for it. What made it worse was how long it took Arteta to respond. There was a 25-minute spell in the second half where Arsenal had just 25% of the ball. That is an extraordinary stat for a team of this quality. And yet, Arteta sat and watched. No changes, no adjustments, no new ideas. 25% Arsenal possession during worst spell 2-, 5th League Cup for Guardiola. By the time Arteta made his first two substitutions, Arsenal were already 2-0 down. The game was over, the damage was done, and the damage started before that in a decision many Arsenal fans are still shaking their heads about. Arteta chose to start Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal instead of David Raya. Now look, everyone understood the sentiment. Kepa had been working hard. He deserved his moment, but this was a cup final. This was not a moment for sentiment. It was a moment for the best goalkeeper in the squad, and most people would agree that is Raya. What happened next felt almost inevitable. Kepa let a routine cross slip through his hands, and Nico O'Reilly was there to head into an open net. That was the opener. Before that, Kepa had already been booked for charging off his line to bring down Doku. He was nervous from the very start. The second goal also came from a header by O'Reilly, and suddenly City had their 2-goal cushion, and Arsenal had nothing left to give. Your thoughts? Should Arteta have started David Raya in the Carabao Cup final? Would it have made a difference, or was the result always going this way regardless of who was in goal? The one more moment in a cold night after all the disappointment, there was at least one moment from Wembley that felt human and genuine. Footage emerged of Pep Guardiola walking through the tunnel after the final whistle and stopping to speak with 3 Arsenal players. Those 3 players were Bukayo Saka, Eberechi Eze and Gabriel Jesus. Guardiola shook hands with Saka and pulled Eze in for a warm hug. Remember, Eze had missed the entire final because of his calf injury. He was not even able to play, which made the moment between him and Guardiola feel even more genuine. The two of them were smiling and talking throughout the conversation, despite everything that had just happened on the pitch. Then there was the reunion with Gabriel Jesus. For those who may not know, Jesus was a Manchester City player before Arteta brought him to Arsenal in the summer of 2022. He worked with Guardiola for years at City, and the two clearly still have a strong bond. Their exchange in the tunnel looked warm and friendly, the kind of conversation between two people who genuinely respect each other. It is easy to forget in moments like these that football is still played by human beings who have real relationships, real histories and real emotions. Guardiola may have just beaten Arsenal in a cup final, but he clearly holds some of these players in very high regard. He shared a warm hug with Eze, shook hands with Saka, and had a long conversation with Jesus, the very player he sold to Arsenal back in 2022. The tunnel moment at Wembley. And for Guardiola, this was a genuinely happy moment. His City side went into the final as underdogs. Nobody was expecting them to outclass Arsenal the way they did. But they did exactly that, and you could see on his face just how much it meant. He was blowing kisses to the fans at the final whistle. He was not hiding how he felt. Arteta tries to keep everyone calm after the match. Mikel Arteta faced the cameras and did his best to give perspective. He urged the fans not to let this one result define the season. He pointed to the 9-point lead Arsenal currently hold at the top of the Premier League. He talked about using the pain as fuel. He said the team has a recent history of bouncing back from bad results. And honestly, he is not wrong about that. Before this defeat, the 3 losses Arsenal had suffered this season were each followed by long unbeaten runs. 18 games, 12 games, 14 games without losing. That is a remarkable record of resilience. But this is different. This is not just another defeat. This was a cup final. This was a chance to end years of near misses and trophy heartbreak. Arsenal had the FA Cup, the Champions League and the Premier League titles still to fight for coming into this final. The Carabao Cup was meant to be the one that broke the seal. It did not happen. Be honest with us after this final. Does your confidence in Arsenal winning the Premier League title stay the same, go up or go down? And what about the Champions League? Can this team go all the way in Europe? Arteta also admitted there is a lot to think about and discuss. He said the temperature needs to come down before those conversations happen properly. That is a fair point. Nobody makes good decisions when emotions are running high, but those conversations need to happen. The performance on Sunday raised serious questions about Arsenal's ability to perform in the biggest games. The injury situation is getting complicated. Even before we talk about tactics or form, there is a more immediate problem to deal with. Arsenal are heading into the most important 2 months of their season with a squad that is already stretched. The injury news coming out of Wembley is not great. Let us go through each player one by one. Eberechi Eze calf injury picked up during the Champions League win over Bayer Leverkusen. He was seen moving freely as he left Wembley, which is a good sign, but Arteta confirmed another scan is needed in 6 or 7 days before the full picture is clear. Eze has also been withdrawn from the England squad for the international break. Newcastle winger Harvey Barnes has been called up to replace him. Jurrien Timber missed the Carabao Cup final entirely after picking up a problem during the Premier League win against Everton. He was taken off before half-time in that game and did not recover in time for Wembley. He has now withdrawn from the Holland squad for upcoming friendlies against Norway and Ecuador. William Saliba pulled out of the France squad for their friendlies against Brazil and Colombia in the United States. He is dealing with recurring pain in his left ankle. The French national team confirmed he needs a minimum rest period of 10 days. He was not limping when he left Wembley, so there is hope he is simply managing the issue carefully rather than dealing with anything serious. Noni Madueke left Wembley with significant strapping on his left wrist after coming on as a substitute in the second half. He was even wearing a cast during his 24-minute cameo. Reports suggest he picked up the problem in training on Friday after an accidental collision with a youth team player. England are monitoring the situation, but the current expectation is that Madueke will still be available for their friendlies against Uruguay and Japan. Worry level check: which of these 4 injury situations worries you most heading into April? Eze missing the sporting tie? Saliba being unavailable for the title run-in? Or something else entirely? The bigger picture: what does this mean for the season? Here is where we need to be both realistic and fair to Arsenal at the same time. Yes, Sunday was a very bad day. Yes, the performance raised questions. Yes, the injury news adds stress. But Arsenal are still 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They are still in the FA Cup. They are still in the Champions League. No other English club can say all 3 of those things right now. The Premier League title is still very much in Arsenal's hands. Do the maths. If they win their remaining games, nobody can catch them. City would need Arsenal to collapse badly in order to close that gap. And while City will feel confident after Sunday, there is a huge difference between performing well in a one-off cup final and sustaining a title challenge over the final weeks of a long season. That said, the warning signs are real. Arsenal's midfield did not offer enough control at Wembley. Their forwards, who have been out of form for much of the season, did not produce anything close to the magic that would have been needed. Their one real chance in the game was missed by Kai Havertz. If you only get one chance in a match, you cannot afford to waste it. There is also the mental side of things. This Arsenal squad has now come close to winning major trophies for 4 consecutive seasons and come away empty-handed. That leaves marks. It creates doubt. And when the pressure builds again in a big Champions League night or a crucial Premier League clash, those marks can start to show. Arsenal bouncing back from this result quickly is not just important, it is absolutely essential. The FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton comes first on April 4th. That is a game Arsenal should win comfortably, but after that they fly to Portugal to face Sporting in the first leg of their Champions League quarter-final on April 7th. That is where we will really see what this team is made of. The Carabao Cup was supposed to ease the pressure on the bigger prizes. Instead, it has been cranked up to the maximum. On what Sunday's result really means, what Arsenal must do differently. The international break gives Arsenal time to rest, recover and reflect. Arteta himself said the team needs to bring the temperature down and have some honest conversations. Here is what those conversations probably need to cover. First, the goalkeeper situation. Raya is the number 1 and should be treated as such in every important game from here on. There can be no more decisions made out of loyalty or sentiment when trophies are on the line. Second, the tactical flexibility. Arsenal showed almost no ability to adapt when City's press was suffocating them. A manager of Arteta's level needs to find a plan B and find it fast. The same setup that works against lower quality opposition will not always work against City, Real Madrid or Liverpool. Third, the midfield needs to offer more. In a final, the midfield battle is often where games are won and lost. Arsenal lost that battle badly on Sunday. Better balance, better positioning and better decision making under pressure are all areas that need urgent attention. Fourth, the forwards. At some point in a trophy run, someone in attack has to step up and make a difference. Arsenal need that player to emerge in the coming weeks. Whether it is Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, or someone else entirely, this team needs a moment of individual brilliance to carry them through. Final question before the outro. If you could tell Arteta one thing going into the rest of the season, what would it be? Is it a tactical change, a selection decision, a motivational message, or something else? Coming up for Arsenal, April 4th, Arsenal versus Southampton, FA Cup, QF, April 7th, Sporting versus Arsenal UCL, QF first leg, April 12th, plus Etihad versus Arsenal Premier League. Arsenal, the story is not over. Sunday hurt. Anyone who tells you it did not is lying. Watching Arsenal fail to perform on that stage at Wembley in a final against a rival we have been building up to beat for years, that is the kind of afternoon that stays with you. But here is the truth. Arsenal are still 9 points clear. They are still alive in 2 more competitions. They still have the squad, the manager, and the belief to make this a historic season. The Carabao Cup is gone. It cannot be changed. What can be changed is everything that comes next. Southampton on April 4th, Sporting on April 7th, every Premier League game after that. The fight is not over, not even close. This community has stood by this club through worse. We will stand by them now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us how you are feeling. Tell us what you think needs to change. Because the best thing about this community is that we talk through it together. The good days and the hard ones. We are Arsenal. We always rise.